If you've already started investing but skipped a step along the way, this video is going to show you exactly what that skip is costing. Not in theory, in dollars, over 10 years, on a real salary. I mapped this comparison because the most common question on this channel isn't where to invest. It's whether the order matters. I'm Warren. The answer is yes, and the cost of getting it wrong is larger than most people would believe. Two nurses at the same hospital in Tampa. Same unit, same shift rotation, same starting salary of about $52,000. Both 27, both single. Both carrying about $3,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest. Both with access to a 401k through the hospital system with a dollar-for-dollar match up to 4% of salary. Both opened a brokerage account the same month. One of them, Leo, followed the pyramid in order. The other, Nate, skipped ahead. Same starting line, same tools, different sequence. And by year 10, the difference between them is a number that will sit with you for the rest of this video. Leo's first move wasn't exciting. He took his tax refund, $1,400, and put it in a Marcus high-yield savings account as the start of an emergency fund. He didn't invest a cent. He spent the next 2 months building that account to $2,500, roughly 1 month of essential expenses. It felt slow. He watched Nate talk about stocks in the break room and felt like he was falling behind. But Leo had watched the first 6 videos on this channel, and the rule was clear. The emergency fund comes before everything else. Not because it grows, because it prevents the credit card from filling gaps. And the credit card charges 20%. Nate's first move was different. He heard about an S&P 500 index fund from a coworker, opened a Schwab brokerage account that same week, and started putting $200 a month into SWPPX. He felt smart. He was investing. The market was going up. The balance grew. He posted screenshots to a group chat. What he didn't do was build an emergency fund, and he didn't pay off the $3,000 in credit card debt. Month 4. Leo finished his emergency fund and shifted every available dollar to the credit card. At about $300 a month, the $3,000 balance took roughly 11 months to clear. During those 11 months, Leo invested $0. He watched his coworker's brokerage account climb and felt the pull. But the math held him. The credit card charged 20%. The market averaged 7%. Paying off a 20% debt is a guaranteed 13% advantage over investing in the market. There's no fund that offers 13% guaranteed. Not one. Month 4 for Nate looked better on paper. His Schwab account had grown to about $900. But his Capital One card still carried the full $3,000, and the interest was accruing at roughly $50 a month. He was making minimum payments of about $90, which meant $40 of those $90 went to interest and $50 went to principal. At that rate, the card would take over 4 years to pay off and cost an additional $1,500 in interest alone. Nate was investing $200 a month while his debt was costing him $50. Net benefit of his investing after debt cost? $150, minus the tax drag, minus the risk. The market could go down. The 20% on the credit card never goes down. Year 1. Leo's emergency fund, intact. Credit card, paid off. Net debt, 0. 401k enrollment, done. He'd logged into the hospital's benefits portal, set his contribution to 4% and captured the full dollar-for-dollar match. On $52,000, 4% is about $170 a month. The hospital added another $170. Total going into the 401k, $340 a month. He invested in a Vanguard target date fund. He also opened a Fidelity Roth IRA and set up a $100 monthly transfer into FSKAX. Year 1 for Nate. Schwab brokerage, about $2,800. Credit card, still $1,700, down from $3,000 but slowly. 401k, not enrolled. He kept meaning to. The form was on the hospital intranet, and every month he told himself he'd get to it next week. He didn't get to it next week. By the end of year 1, Nate had missed 12 months of employer match. At $170 a month in free money, that's $2,040 he left on the table. Not lost in the market, not spent, just uncollected. Sitting in the hospital's benefits system, unmatched, because the enrollment form never got filled out. Here's where the paths start to diverge visibly, and this is the comparison worth pausing for. At the end of year 1, Leo's total invested, about $5,200 between the 401k with match and the Roth IRA. Net debt, 0. Emergency fund, solid. Credit score climbing because utilization dropped to 0. He doesn't check his accounts obsessively. He checks them once or twice a month, the way someone checks the weather before a weekend trip. The numbers aren't exciting, they're just correct. Nate's year 1 tells a different story from a different angle. Total invested, about $2,800 in the Schwab brokerage. The number looks good in isolation. But net debt, still $1,700 on the credit card. Employer match missed for 12 straight months. Total uncollected match, $2,040. If someone handed Nate $2,400 in cash and he threw it in the trash, he'd feel sick. But the missed match is invisible. It doesn't show up on a statement. It doesn't trigger a notification. It's money that was offered, uncollected, and gone. And it's already compounding for Leo while it doesn't exist for Nate. Same salary, same break room, same Tuesday lunch. One is building on a foundation that's already set. The other is building on a foundation with a crack in it, and the crack is widening at 20% a year. If this comparison feels familiar, it should. The same dynamic played out in every video in this series. The compliance officer in Chicago, the surgeon in the Southeast, Marcus in Dallas, Jess in Portland, Daniela in Phoenix, Ray in Columbus, Nina in Atlanta. Each one had the same tools available. Each one had the same dollars. The variable that determined outcome was never the amount. It was the sequence. What got addressed first? What got automated? What got ignored? Year 3. Leo has been contributing to the 401k and Roth consistently. His combined investment balance, including employer match and market growth, is roughly $22,000. His emergency fund sits at 3 months of expenses in a Marcus account he hasn't touched. His credit card balance is 0 and has been for 2 years. He bumped his 401k contribution to 6%. The match still covers 4, meaning roughly $520 a month flows into retirement between his contribution and the employer's. He doesn't think about it. The transfers run on the 1st and 15th. He checks the balances maybe once a month, usually on a Sunday morning with coffee, scrolling the Fidelity app between basketball highlights. The numbers go up. Not fast, but year 3 for Nate. He finally enrolled in the 401k at month 18 after a coworker literally walked him through the portal during a lunch break. He set it to 4%. The match kicked in, but he's still carrying credit card debt, now down to about $800 after sporadic larger payments and 1 month where he threw a whole tax refund at it. His Schwab brokerage has about $8,000. His 401k, started 18 months late, has about $4,000 including the match. Total invested about $12,000. Sounds respectable until you account for what he's lost. The interest he paid on the credit card over 3 years totals roughly $1,800. The missed employer match from the first 18 months totals over $3,000. Combined, nearly $5,000 that evaporated. Not lost in the market, not spent on something he enjoyed, just friction. Invisible. Gone. If you added those $5,000 to Nate's portfolio instead, he'd be within striking distance of Leo. But those dollars don't come back. Compound interest only works on dollars that exist. Year 5. Leo's portfolio, roughly $48,000. Emergency fund, stable. Debt, 0 for 4 years. He increased his Roth IRA contribution to $250 a month after getting a small raise that added about $300 to his take-home. He directed $250 of the raise to the Roth before the brain had a chance to normalize the higher paycheck. That's the adaptation defense from video 3, executed in real time. He checked his Fidelity app on a Saturday morning, coffee from Publix on the kitchen counter, and saw 5 digits in the Roth for the first time. He didn't celebrate. He nodded. The plan was working. Year 5 for Nate. Portfolio, about $28,000 across Schwab and the 401k. Credit card, finally paid off at month 30. Emergency fund, about $800, not enough to cover a single real emergency. He'd had one bad month in year 4 where his car needed a $1,200 repair at a Firestone in South Tampa. No emergency fund to absorb it. The repair went on the credit card. The debt cycle restarted. It took another 10 months to clear. 2 debt cycles in 5 years, each one costing interest, each one interrupting investing momentum, each one preventable if the emergency fund had been in place before anything else. If you've experienced this cycle yourself, you know the feeling. Not failure exactly, but exhaustion. The sense that the ground keeps moving and there's never a moment to build on solid footing. Year 10, and this is the number. Leo's combined portfolio, roughly $128,000. Emergency fund, solid, untouched for the last 3 years. No debt at any point in the last 9 years. Employer match fully captured every single month for 9 consecutive years. Roth IRA funded consistently, now approaching the annual max. Savings rate, 18% of gross income, and climbing with every raise he captures before the brain adjusts. Nate's combined portfolio, roughly $71,000. 2 debt cycles that cost him roughly $4,000 in interest. 18 months of missed employer match worth over $3,000. Emergency fund chronically underfunded, never reaching the 3-month target. Savings rate, 11%, inconsistent, dropping to 0 during debt cycles. The gap, $57,000. On the same salary, same hospital, same break room where they both eat lunch on Tuesdays, same total stock market index fund in both their accounts. The only variable that differed was the order. Not the amount, not the discipline, not the investment vehicle. The order. And the gap doesn't close, it widens. By year 20, assuming both continue their current patterns, the divergence is projected at over $170,000. By year 30, it crosses $300,000. Compound math rewards the dollars that arrived first and went to the right place. Every dollar Leo invested in year 1 has been compounding for 10 years. Every dollar Nate lost to credit card interest in year 1 never entered the market at all. The first dollars matter more than the last ones, and the first dollars only matter if they go to the right step. Here's the part that should land hardest. Nate isn't wrong. He invested. He contributed to retirement. He'll be fine in 30 years, but fine and optimal are separated by $300,000, and the only difference was a sequence. Someone investing while carrying high-interest debt is on Nate's path. An employer match sitting uncollected while a brokerage account gets funded is Nate's path. An emergency fund that doesn't cover a single month while market contributions continue is Nate's path. The path isn't wrong, it's just expensive. The pyramid from this channel exists because of Leo and Nate. Emergency fund first, high-interest debt second, employer match third, Roth IRA fourth, max the 401k fifth, taxable last. The steps aren't suggestions, they're load-bearing walls. Skip 1 and the structure holds less weight. Skip 2 and cracks appear. Skip 3 and by year 10 the building looks functional from the outside, but the foundation has gaps that compound silently every month. There's a detail from Leo's first year that's easy to miss, but explains everything. During those 11 months when he was paying off the credit card and investing nothing, he felt behind. Nate had screenshots. Nate had a growing balance. Nate had the feeling of momentum. Leo had a shrinking debt balance and a savings account that earned 4%. It didn't feel like progress. It felt like standing still while everyone else moved. That feeling is the reason most people skip steps. The early stages of the correct order are invisible. The debt disappears. The emergency fund sits there. The match accrues quietly in a portal most people never check. There's nothing to screenshot, nothing to post, nothing that feels like investing. But those boring, invisible first moves are what make years 5, 10, and 20 possible. The gap between Leo and Nate was created in year 1. It just didn't become visible until year 5. By year 10, it was undeniable. And by year 30, it will be the difference between choosing when to stop working and being told when. If the sequence has a gap right now, that gap has a dollar value, and that value compounds every month it stays open. Leo and Nate started at the same place, same salary, same break room, same access to the same tools. The only thing that separated them was which step came first. The order. Choose yours accordingly. One more piece before the next video. Everything in this sequence, every step of the pyramid, can be automated in a single sitting. The payday routine. 30 minutes. One setup, then the system runs on its own. The next video builds that machine. Today was the blueprint. Tomorrow is the wiring.